It is a pleasure to talk to you about this film. It is such a roller coaster. It's one of my favorite things I've seen on Netflix in a while.
Oh, good.
It is
Great.
such a strong film.
Great.
Starting out with you, he's such a conflicted guy to some degree, but he's also so dedicated. What do you think drives his dedication?
I think everything's rooted in the film off of Lockhart's relationship with his wife, his soon-to-be child, and the depth of that relationship reflects all the other obsession and insanity, like going almost to the brink of insanity to kind of have closure on that and to feel some sort of to take the confusion out. This guy's life was just ripped apart one night.
Right. And do you think that when his life is ripped apart, does he attribute that somewhat maybe to what happened? Is he tying the two things together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is where everything bounces off of and comes back to.
And I mean, the mental leaps that he takes through this, and also even just the span of years that we're talking about here. Is that like an actor's dream, I assume? To have that
Sure.
kind of-
To work with Jim and Michael and J. Patrick, Akeem, all big fans of their work, and then you could say there's a little actor bait there for sure. I don't think I'll ever have the opportunity to play as many characters within one character of parts of their life.
You're going to be that guy now. You're going to be typecast.
Yeah. That's not bad to be pigeonholed.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
he goes through some serious shit. I mean, between the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
Is that a director's dream as well? Because there's a lot of story here.
Yeah, it was. It was, I guess I gotten really into like packing as much story into as small a space as possible. And it's obviously, it was really the challenge, I think, of trying to pull it off because you're checking in with these characters every 9 years and you're only with them for a couple hours. So I think as an actor, but also story-wise, like the amount of stuff that you have to do to very quickly show who they are and what's happened over the last 9 years and sort of how they've become who they are. And then obviously mixing that in with sort of satisfying all the genre beats. It was part of the fun kind of puzzle of it.
But I love too that you say genre beats, but really it defies a lot of genres.
Yeah.
Do you have to think about, like, I mean, obviously not all that is purposeful, but to some degree, do you have to think about how you're making that?
Yeah, didn't you want to like break the film with like Jim's really great with like sound and all that. Back to Cold in July when there's like 80 synthesizers.
Right.
You wanted to break the film up and have specific.
At some point,
but that kind of didn't.
Yeah. At some point, we talked about doing like different music, different score styles for each decade, and then also even like different cameras and lens. Like really go for it. But then it also became like you realize like all that's happening with his character, with Michael's character, with these people that you're seeing with Bokeem and so it also, then we sort of realized like, no, it's actually about sort of providing the consistency for it because so much is going on around it. But I mean, with the genre is not so much, I'm a big genre fan, and so I think I already kind of come at stuff with that style. Like it's always got kind of a moodiness to it and all that. But I think by going into it at the beginning with the 80s feel and with the sort of nighttime cinematography, I think it helps to sort of establish like we're obviously fans of this genre, these genres.
Right. And for you guys working together, did you talk about certain things that you were trying to accomplish per era or anything like that?
We spoke a lot before working together and kind of how I like to work, how Jim likes to work, what we want out of this, what does he want out of me for the role, how can I service the script, and how can we definitely do that together. That was 100% my goal.
And then there's also a point where it becomes unspoken and you're both on the same page, which is always fun when you're sort of, when an actor shows up and you're just like, yes, that's exactly where I kind of felt like that was going to go, even though it's not on the page. Like, and that's always fun to sort of hit that harmony. Did
either of you have a favorite moment in the film that stood out as either the most fun or most intriguing?
There's always in a script like the big days, the big scenes, the big pillars of the shoot. I think the scene with me and Michael and the diners. That was kind of like the third day up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I guess you would want to save that for the end, but
Mhm.
it's kind of great to do in the beginning too, because you kind of set a tone. Okay, well we're going to knock the rest of this out
Yeah.
just as well.
Wow.
Yeah. That and the subway platform scene with you and Cleo, I love that. There's just that there's like an eeriness to that, and it's been also so like pound for the movie, for the opening like half an hour. That when it gets to that point, it's just nice to sit with you.
Yeah,
guys in
I
this
mean
quiet
that would have been a
space.
climactic piece in any other film,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's kind of
Climax of like the first act.
first
really.
act. Yeah.
But I love that the film sets up that kind of sequence of we're starting off big, and then there's fireworks almost every era of some variety.
Yeah.
When you start off big, how do you think about following up that? How do you plan that?
A lot of it is rhythm and just sort of knowing, like, because the trick there is like, you have these investigative beats, you have the family beats that, as the story goes along, you realize they're intertwined, but it's like, they're separated for a bit, and it's, as I said, it's like you come in and it's like you get to check in with the family scene, you get to check in with sort of an investigative scene, and then it's like, so, I mean, what was fun was there was these opportunities for these set pieces, I think, in each decade. I think each decade sort of has like a quintessential sort of chase or something, and that's always fun in a genre thing, and so it became fun to think about like how each one could sort of reflect his state of mind in those scenes, and reflect sort of the chase that's happening over the course of the decades. And so that became really fun to sort of like have those big anchors that help to keep things lively.
That's cool. Did you enjoy the action sequences? How much of them did you get to do yourself?
A lot.
A lot. I think this is probably the hardest thing I'll do for a long time.
Really?
Just in terms, yeah, for sure. Just in terms of, I mean, there's voice going on. There's tracking the character over the decades and the eras. There was just this year's shooting schedule that was kind of ballistic, which, I mean, in a good way.
We threw you into the water off that large platform.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. It's just like we crammed a lot into little, and also just going back and forth, a couple times in a day throughout different eras.
Right.
So, yeah, I just don't think you're just going to get that chance again.
Yeah.
It must be great finishing this and then going, this is great on my resume.
No, I'm definitely very proud of it.
It's akin to Marvel. I mean, watching this, I was like, wow, like you guys pulled off a lot of stuff. And some stuff better than almost anyone I've seen. I saw something at TIFF that you guys trumped it by far.
Oh, good.
So, like, yeah.
That's good. So, it's a lot of work. You put in a lot of work, and then you sort of step back at the end, and you're like, I'm proud of it, but you never quite know how to have that objectivity to it. So, good.
Right.
That's nice to hear.
Well, in terms of what you hope people walk away with, in terms of, he's a hard character to sum up, I guess. But do you have something you hope that fans are watching and they go, wow, that's important?
Yeah. I really, at the end of the day, think Locke was meant to be an average, everyday man that, really loved his family, loved his community, wanted to service his community. And it kind of reflects of the depth of what someone will do for love or the people they care about.
That's awesome. I also, the family aspect to me is like, do it for the family. Like that feels like a lasting message there.
Yeah, I mean, when you cut away a lot of stuff, I mean, what's really left?
And in terms of, overall message for you, is there something you hope? I mean, is it the same message? Is it the same thing?
It is, and also I think, as I get older, you start to take moments in your life where you sort of look at the different chapters in your own life and what got you to certain places. And I remember Kelly McGillis gave me this, we did a movie and she gave me this postcard at the end that said, like, by your stumbling, the world is perfect. I paraphrase, but it's like, that whole thing of like, all these decisions and even the bad decisions. And I love that your character makes bad decisions. I love when characters make bad decisions in movies, but it winds up in a lot of ways being the right decision,
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's something too, of like all these decisions you make in your life lead you to where you are, and that's always where you're supposed to be, even though there's obviously a lot of times in this movie where it feels like he's gone the wrong path. So I think that's fun. I think anytime an entertaining sort of action genre thriller, I think anytime that can sort of raise some bigger questions, existential questions or social questions, obviously in this film, I think it's always a treat.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.